Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Prep Talk podcast hosted by Pete's Flips, fulfilled by Max, and Not Really Mad. We are here for our second episode today. Very excited to bring it to you. Today, we'll be talking about the different tools and processes that allowed us to scale our Amazon businesses. So excited to have you, and let's get rolling. Why don't we do a round of intros, and then we'll get into it.
What's up, everybody? I'm fulfilled by Max. Probably going to do about 115K this month in revenue. So I'm looking forward to keeping scaling and learning with you guys.
What's going on, guys? I'm not really mad. I actually am mad sometimes, not all the time. I guess actually I'm not really that mad that much. That's kind of why I put the name. And I think this month I'll do like 83, hopefully. So pretty solid.
Yep. And then I'm Pete's Flips. Right now I'm at like 130K for the month. Been taking things seriously for about 4 or 5 months. So so today we're going to talk about all the different tools that allowed us to scale rather quickly, mistakes that we made, that sort of thing. Why don't we just get into the first topic that we have, and it is the beautiful Amex Plum. Fulfilled by Max, why don't you go ahead and give us the down low on the Plum, why it's great, lessons learned, that sort of thing.
Yeah, so the Plum is actually a business card that Amex provides. You can hook it up to your business bank account and keep your assets, your personal assets, and your LLC's assets, your company assets separate. The way the Plum works is it uses your personal credit score to gauge how reliable you are as a creditor. And it also kind of incorporates your cash flow and your ability to pay down your Amex as a factor of how much you get per month in your spend limit. With an Amex Plum, there is no strict spend limit. So how on a normal credit card, you might have a $10,000 spend limit. Amex Plum actually is pretty flexible based off of how you pay, how you utilize it, and how large the payments are that you're making. So it's a really, really good tool if you're looking to scale up fast, but you're limited on capital. I mean, not everybody has $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 to spend, but you can easily work your Amex limit up just by paying before the due date, paying it all off at once, and maxing it out every single month. So that way you can increase that spend limit, increase your ability to spend on inventory.
Well, like a really good thing about the Amex Plum, in my opinion, is that it gives you time to sort out mistakes. So like when you're first, using the Plum, it will give you an additional 30 days. And if you time it correctly with kind of like the statement end, could be even longer than that. But it gives you time to get that cash flow moving. And it kind of pairs really nicely with like the automated pay schedules of doing like FBA products. And so it can really alleviate your cash flow. Candidly, when I was first looking at business cards, I went with the Amex Gold because it's definitely a flex. It's a nicer looking card, and then immediately said this isn't the move, and then went to the Plum, and that's the main card that I use at this point. There aren't really any rewards. They do have like early payoff rewards, but that kind of defeats the point of the Plum. But yeah, I mean that's I think a tool that all three of us use.
So before we get into all like I guess the Plum and stuff, I just feel like it would be a good idea to give kind of the audience or people listening that are kind of new to this, like the very, very bare bones basic of where we started and stuff, and like how do you even get to the Plum and why would you need an LLC and stuff like that. So I don't know if you guys want to hop into like separating business and personal bank accounts and going through your LLC for that reason to separate those funds and why that's so crucial with organization and stuff like that. Just so we can kind of understand why we even get to the Amex Plum, I think.
Yeah, definitely. So for me, I had an LLC, but I didn't take credit out in the LLC's name for an extended period of time. So I was still running personal cards up until probably the last like 4 or 5 months. And that really had a negative effect on my credit score. But I just had these limiting beliefs around leveraging the business credit. And really, they're just running against, kind of like Max said, running against your personal, making sure that you're a trustworthy individual. And then I was approved like same day for the Amexes that I was looking at. So that's sort of my experience. But yeah, I would absolutely separate early just so that everything is separate. You don't have to think about it. Like the cash isn't getting intermixed. It just creates a lot of headache if they do get mixed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I had the problem. Sorry, go for
Sorry,
it.
go ahead, Max. Go ahead.
No, yeah, I was just gonna say I had the problem where like, I'd initiate a transfer through my BOA. I use Bank of America for like my main personal stuff. I know it's awful, but I've been with them so long. I feel like I will transfer at some point. But yeah, I was getting to the point where I had so many different things going on that like I was a couple times where I made like a couple wire transfers and they don't happen immediately, so it doesn't immediately reflected in your balance. So I over transferred and luckily I had cash in my savings and it just overdrafted from my savings. But I had just miscalculated, different wire transfers and stuff like that. It just got really messy. And I was like, all right, this is ridiculous. I should have started from the beginning with an LLC. I now have one. I've transitioned through that now. And all of my bank accounts are now separate business. And then I have a funnel that I go to my personal one. And then I can disperse through that through Bank of America to all my various credit cards and stuff like that. But yeah, I think it's just so crucial to separate those two just for organization purposes. That way you're not like, it just gets a lot, especially when you start getting to like the 20, 30, 40, 50, 60K range per month, that you have so many different transactions with so much cash flow going on. It's very difficult to track it penny by penny. So just separating it completely makes it real easy to just kind of sparse apart and, keep everything separate that way.
Yeah, the faster you get off of anything, personally related, is better, especially because when you first start your business, the reason why we set up LLCs is because we want the business to be its own entity, right? An LLC is a pass-through business. So what that means is you're going to get the tax benefits of having an actual business and a corporation, but you're not going to be liable yourself, right? You're going to have the ability to actually separate your assets, your personal assets over here, where you might have, if you're a homeowner like Peter, you are, your homeowner assets are over here, and then your LLC's assets are over here. So one doesn't affect the other, and that's kind of the whole purpose. It's almost like an insurance policy. So I think that's a huge point to touch on, is the fact that when you intertwine them, you lose that insurance policy. And I don't know about you guys, but when I spend $80,000 on inventory in a month, it makes me feel a lot better that the stuff I own myself is protected via that separation of assets.
Yeah, all of your cars are protected. That's really nice.
Oh yeah, I was worried about
the Ferrari, Lamborghini.
Yeah, right.
One day we're on Batman, bro.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you kind of touched on like taxes and like benefits there. How much have you guys thought about like bookkeeping and accounting this early? Like I think a lot of people get really tripped up there. They're thinking about having the entire business stood up from the very beginning before they have any revenue. So like, what have you guys done to this point to, start thinking about bookkeeping or accounting?
So personally, I'm in touch with my accountant on a regular basis. He pretty much kind of, when I have questions about, hey, what can I do here to, how do I expense this? Is this a tax deductible? What's going on over here? I think it's really important to have an accountant. I think it's a really good investment because they're going to be able to tell you things that you don't really know about how to save some money and save some money for your business, right? I think that a lot of people don't really realize when they start their business and they take, let's say you took 20K and you put that towards your business. That's a capital investment, right? My business is technically as a separate entity in debt to me, the 20K that I've given it. So at the end of the year, when I go to pay myself out, as you do in an LLC, $20,000 of my profit is untaxable because it's money that the business already owes me. It's just paying off its debt. So it's money that I've already had myself and the business owes me. I think that is something that we should all keep in mind, right? Because it's an easy 20K that you can get back untaxable.
Yeah. I mean, that's something like personally, I haven't really addressed yet. I'm going to probably start thinking about accountants and bookkeeping now that I've reached a certain level of scale. Do you just want to like stipulate here that this is not tax advice, that you should go ahead and get your own accountant because every state is going to have unique rules. And, Fulfilled by Max is not an accountant, but he is the most knowledgeable in our group. Absolutely. Having worked with one.
I am not an accountant, and the information that I'm saying is purely off the books. So consult your accountant before listening to me at all, and you can check with them to make sure that everything I'm telling you is correct.
Yeah. But very good information, all of the same.
Yeah, I just want to touch on the accounting thing too. I think you could do it both ways. I think we scaled pretty aggressively, so I think it's pretty smart to really lay it down. But if you're only doing like 5 to 10,000 a month, like I don't really think that's something you should be hyper focused on. Yeah, you might want to set up an initial consult and just have them set you up, but at that point, it's not really worth your time. Really, really like thinking about that at the back of your head. Like you should be more focused on scaling and finding profitable products at that point. I think once you get to the 50, 60, 70K range per month, and you really start rolling, and you're going to make mid 5 figures, maybe even low 6 figures, that's when you really need to start thinking about that. And looking forward, if we're projecting our future sales, like we're already at that point. So it's smart for us to kind of get that set up. I just had an initial consult with one, and I gave him, all my info, and I switched over to him for my personal as well. He does both. So, and that was my dad's accountant too. So that's nice. So I kind of have it, but I'd like to honestly, I only email him like here and there, but I'd probably, because Max, you have like a friend that's kind of involved with the accounting, right?
Yeah. I was in a fraternity in college, and one of the guys that I was in the fraternity with kind of graduated, is going to take over his dad's accounting firm. And I was like, screw it. Let's just run it with him, because he's going to be someone that I trust, that I know, and we can both kind of grow together.
Yeah. See, that's huge, having like a personal relationship too, which is I'm going to have to build mine. So if anyone's listening, like I think it's definitely wise, like, yeah, get in early, get the initial consult. And then once you're at that level where you really need it, start trying to build that relationship. That way you can kind of have better access and ask these type of questions, because they're definitely going to come up. So,
Yeah. Well, and I think that the bookkeeping and the accounting is such an overwhelming topic for so many people that it could be a reason that people get stuck. And the reality of this business is that you don't actually have any problems until you are selling profitable products. So like the only focus that you should have is finding profitable products, and a lot of them. Like when you're just starting, that is the only thing that you should be thinking about. You go ahead and create your LLC, but then your main objective is just selling products. You don't have any problems unless you can sell profitably on Amazon. That is the only objective that you should think about when you're starting.
do you guys track like your returns like down to the penny and like really go after that? Because I know me and Peter have talked about this, and I think like when you're aggressively scaling, it's so difficult to keep track of every single penny, and there's definitely going to be some loss and some some points shaved off here and there. I guess trying to mitigate that as much as possible is ideal, but at a certain point, it's almost not even worth your time too. If you spend 3 hours digging and you come up with $30, you could have spent that 3 hours finding profitable products and made $1,000, $2,000, $3,000. So I guess at what point it's like a weird fine line between like not getting too sloppy, but not being way too tight and just actually wasting time at a certain point. I haven't really.
Yeah, for me, like I began to pick up on certain categories and certain items that I knew were going to get returned, and then I started to shy away from them, or I increased my ROI requirements around them. Like, so I was not worried about tracking every single one. To me, it is more worth my time to go find new products than to make sure that everything is buttoned to a T. I think over the next couple months, I'll probably think about getting like an admin VA just to make sure everything is like clean and seller board and everything's tracked perfectly. But for me right now, I know like just looking at the ROI requirements that I'm setting within my repricer, that we're going to be in a profitable position, and like we're doing pretty well. And the next like turn of the crank, I tweeted about this today, is to then refine the business, make sure that I have a really good understanding of those numbers, and then be able to turn that over to a bookkeeper. It's nice and tidy, make sure that everything is like buttoned up.
I think that Inventory Lab does a pretty good job of, I use Inventory Labs personally. Peter, I know you use Seller Board kind of the same way. When you integrate Inventory Labs directly in with Seller Central, I think it does a really good job of tracking your returns and whatnot, just because you can see on a case-by-case basis whether or not the product's been returned to you, or if it's sellable or unsellable. And I think that's where the big part of returns come in, right? Whether a product's sellable or it's unsellable. A lot of times we get products back from Amazon that aren't the product we actually sold. Literally happened to me today and yesterday. Or and they just mark it as customer damage, right? And
Yeah.
you got to kind of like file those safety claims. So those are the products that I pay most attention to when they get returned. Is the stuff that I'm getting back from Amazon that's quote unquote customer damage, because a lot of times you can file those safety claims and get your money back and get reimbursed. So I find that to be the most important part of tracking your returns.
Yeah, and I think that returns are something that really intimidate new sellers, and you'll understand over time by selling more products what is going to get returned, what is going to come back sellable. Like if you're selling a food product and like somehow they manage to get a return, probably not sellable. But if you're selling something, maybe an electronic that was just like not compatible, it could be sellable. I mean, there's a ton of different examples. And like when you're thinking about products that will be returned, like think about what process they're going through to be evaluated by the customer. So like if it's an apparel item, you have to try it on, they have to make sure that they look good in it. There's a lot of boxes that they have to check along the way. And so if there's a lot of boxes they have to check to make them happy, then they're likely going to be higher return rates on that. So you just have to think about it as like put yourself in the shoes of the consumer, and then you'll have an idea if the return rate is likely to be high or not.
Yeah, I guess you kind of have to build that into like with stuff that I know is gonna, like with apparel and stuff. You definitely want to make sure your ROI is a lot higher because you're gonna have some returns, so that's gonna eat into the overall profit. So you definitely want to make sure you're not doing anything apparel wise that's like 10%, margin, or like 20% ROI or something like that. It's just not gonna. It's gonna tear that down piece by piece until you're left in single digits eventually. So especially if it gets returned a lot. So. Yeah, I got to start doing that. I know I go through Seller Central and I just look at like all the returns on FBA returns and just see like, this one returned, this one that. It's kind of funny. I've had this like one pair of shoes the past like 3 weeks has been just like cycling.
Yeah, I've had a few of those. I'm shocked that some of them still have life, to be perfectly honest. Like I must have gotten a return. The same pair has probably touched like 7 different hands and it's still kicking. So
dude, this one's expensive too. It's like $250. It just keeps getting recycled. I'm like, bro, it's on like its 4th trip back through Amazon. I'm like, dude.
Yeah.
Really?
So shoes. I mean, we haven't really said a product, but shoes are definitely one thing that have a high return rate, and you can expect to have a high return rate because of the fact nobody knows their shoe size for some reason.
I don't understand it. Like these people are picky as hell. Amazon customers are super spoiled.
Yeah,
right.
dude. Remember, literally yesterday, I got a return because the parent said their kid they wanted a bigger product because their kid's fat.
That was crazy.
That's wild. Like, you know what? I said it on Twitter. You should be sending them money for the honesty. That's hilarious.
Nah, bro, forget them, dude. I had to pay for shipping. I FBM that, so I paid for the shipping to get over to them. And next thing you know, I'm going to be getting it back in the mail because your kid's fat. Your kid doesn't need a new product. He needs a diet.
Send them some seed oils.
Dude, Max, send him some seed oils, bro. He needs it.
Yeah, Max is the seed oil king. So,
bro, I got Crisco on deck. What you know? I got peanut oil, Crisco, avocado oil, olive oil.
Seed oil.
No, but like Miles didn't realize that cinnamon buns have seed oils in them. I was like, how is that a gap?
It's in everything. It's literally in everything.
It's in everything.
It's harder to find a product that seed oils are not in than it is to find it. Like you can just point around the shelf somewhere, even at like Whole Foods. Probably, I bet I could just point around and just whoop, seed oil, and just with a blindfold.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So if you see Max at Whole Foods with a blindfold, just know he's looking for seed oils.
I'm probably filming a video for Twitter about random seed oil.
That's gonna be your first YouTube video. You're just gonna be doing seed oil conspiracies.
No, I actually saw this dude on Instagram the other day, and he was doing that. He was in Whole Foods, and he was like, "All right, we're gonna turn around right now and see if I can find something without seed oils. Let's go." He's like, this one has it. All right, we have 15 seconds to find a product without seed oils. Oh, this one looks organic. Pulls it off the shelf. He's like, nope, soy lecithin, seed oils, and everything else is bad for you. Put it back. Like, oh my God. What? He was going off, dude.
Yeah, Max is saying some guy was doing that, but it was really him. He was going through.
It's a front.
Taking stuff out of people's cart, going, "Oh my God, this has seed oils."
I talk to myself in third person. What of it?
So then, like another topic, like when we're first getting started, would be ungating. I feel like it's like the one you really don't want to talk about, but I feel like a lot of people get like tripped up over it. And like, if I ever made a video about people overcomplicating things, that's what it's about. Like, people are like, don't understand it. I don't know. Did you guys have any problems ungating?
No.
Crickets. Perfect. All right. So it is all mentality. Like, if they decline you the first time, you resubmit the sucker, and eventually they will accept the invoice. It is not complicated. Just make sure that your address matches your Amazon account and move on with your life. It kind of boggles my mind that people still get tripped up by this. Like, there's so much content on YouTube that covers it.
It's all about your perspicacity and your willingness to not give up with no for an answer. Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I'll be a little candid here. I had some troubles in the beginning a little bit. I don't want to be completely, I want to be a little bit transparent, but I just didn't give up, and eventually it went through. So, did I have to buy a few different things to try it? Yeah, of course. Did I had to resubmit? Of course. Did I have to send an email? Maybe, of course. But like, I got through. You're gonna get through. Like, you just have to find a way. The way is there. Like, you're not gonna not get ungated. I mean, I don't know about Hazmat and all that stuff, but like, for basic products and basic brands, you will get ungated.
Yeah.
Might not happen the first time, might not happen the second, might not happen the third, but keep doing it. You'll go through. Like, you're not going to get blocked, right? So it's all about your willingness to kind of go around the goalpost. Sometimes you might have to go into seller help or whatever, central help, and shoot them an email and say, hey, look, I actually did submit this. Can you check this and do that? Because I know one of them I submitted 3 or 4 times, and then it immediately just kept on denying me when I put new info in. And it would email you back saying no new info submitted. And I'm like, dude, I literally submitted you a whole new invoice, right? So I had to email them, and then as soon as I emailed them, ungated. So,
Yep.
There's multiple ways to skin a cat on Amazon, so you gotta get to skinning and keep moving,
So 2 things that I think, personally, this is an actual factual information, but I think it helps. One, I think that trying to go and get ungated at odd times during the day actually makes it easier. So like late at night, if you try to send an ungating request later at night, I think that you have more success. Also, if you get rejected, open a new case if you can.
So I'm more willing to believe the second than the first. I feel like the first one's some wild ass conspiracy, to be perfectly honest.
Why I say that is because late at night, right? You have your 9 to 5 hours for the United States.
Yeah.
But then there has to be somebody that works overnight. So they outsource to other countries. And I think that sometimes you might get a VA from a different country that might be looking at your invoice instead of somebody from the States. And they might just click, all right, send them through because it looks like an invoice. So I think that can give you an easier time getting through rather than submitting it, during a 9 to 5 period.
Well, either way, try it. Like, if you're not getting ungated, give it a shot. See if like doing a different hours, you run into somebody else. Because that is true. Like, I think that a lot of this, until you're like trusted by Amazon, like a lot of it's just manual review and they're just pumping out volume. They probably have that's got to be a miserable job just looking at invoices all day if it's not AI. But like, something to keep in mind is that like when you're first starting, you are not trustworthy. You have no like credit history with Amazon until you demonstrate that you are good at fulfilling the orders that you have. Like, so when you first start, it is natural to be rejected. And then over time, like, I've seen people just get, ungated automatically with like dog shit invoices. It just, over time, it'll happen.
I heard Under Armour is pretty easy to ungate with. So if anyone out there listening want to start on them.
I thought it was Adidas.
Adidas is the easiest. Just ask Dre.
Yeah, just ask Dre. We can find out if I still can't believe he doesn't have a buy sheet.
Yeah.
Well,
I still think it's a lie, bro. We're gonna have to
lie.
I'm gonna have to look him in his eyes on Wednesday and actually see what's going on.
Yeah, we're gonna have to interrogate him because I don't know.
He's gonna seduce you.
He might.
Don't look into his eyes, bro. He's
a handsome guy.
Yeah,
6'4". If my girl's around, I might have to hide, bro. Can't bring your girl around Dre, bro. He's too handsome. It's too much of a risk.
Yeah,
bro. His following's got to be like 95% female. Because that's.
Ooh. I heard he's thinking about going into the selling a fitness offer pretty soon and going into that type of fitness guru space. 25.
Right. Like another good topic would be like bank accounts and getting that set up. And so, Max Cat, why don't you go ahead and share like the process that you went through to, get that all taken care of? And like, I'm sure that we'll have some feedback and stuff, but let's get going in that.
Yeah. So, getting started with your Amazon business, it's always good to file that LLC. I went through LegalZoom. They make it fast. They make it easy. Just to get all your information, they give you your articles of organization, your EIN, etc. They file with the state for you. So it's super duper easy. And I know there's other websites out there that actually are cheaper than LegalZoom. I think LegalZoom will end up costing you about like $865. Don't quote me on that, depending on what packages you use.
You get the premium package, my friend.
Probably, honestly.
PA is expensive.
Yeah. And depending on what state you file your LLC is a big input into how fast you get your decision back and what to do with your bank accounts. So after you file your LLC, you're going to have to get your documentation back from LegalZoom. That'll be your articles of organization, your operation clauses, your EIN, your tax records, your I forget, there's one other document that you're going to get. You're going to call up the bank. I think that the two major banks that I always hear in Amazon are Chase and Bank of America. I think I hear that just because they're bigger banks and they have better business account perks, like small business perks. So those two are definitely like top two to go. I think popularity wise, I definitely hear about Chase more because Chase also has pretty solid credit cards when you're talking about selling on Amazon. So number one, I put Chase. Number two, I put Bank of America. Unfortunately, I don't have a Chase over by me, so I went with Bank of America. But yeah, set up that bank account, set up a business bank account, bring your documentation to the bank. It takes like literally less than an hour. And you'll have your debit card and everything sent to you in the mail. Once you get that first bank statement, which you probably should get when you create your bank account. That's what happened to me when I got mine. Then you can go in and apply for your Amex Plum. I think you need an invoice or a bank statement that's about 20 days old. So once you get that bank statement, 20 days passes, you can apply for your Amex Plum. So you have to start on the business account, get some transactions going, and then
I just chat filed. They didn't ask any of that for me.
They wanted me to have 20 days.
It's probably because you move so fast. Like you move expeditiously, and so they were like, I don't even know if this person exists. He's moving so quick. But it kind of gets into a point that I want to bring up. Having a good relationship with like a banker is huge. It can make your life a lot easier because like when you're like filling out all that information online, I tried doing that and like I am incapable of it. So just having them do it and just having a good relationship and you just drop an email being like, hey, I want to open up an account will make your life so much easier. And then another thing that I see people like worrying about is like, where am I going to get the best interest rate or all this? So, like where's like the best perks? Just go with a bank, have everything under one roof and move because it'll allow you to move with speed. You don't want to be setting up all of these like inner bank transfers and stuff. It's a mess. When it's all under one roof, it's a lot easier. And then it just allows you to move faster than otherwise.
Yeah, I have like a web of wire transfers. I have a
there
system.
You go. That's a pain in the ass.
I have a system for me where it's pretty simple now. Like I made like a whole separate Amazon disbursement bank account in BOA. So everything goes to that. That way it doesn't interact with my personal. And then that's connected to my business. So you can see everything on one portal. And then from there, I disperse to my individual credit cards from the Amazon disbursement bank account. That makes it for sure a little more simple. And that's all connected to my other banks too. So like Chase and I don't know, I have like 9 different credit cards because I was just stacking cards before Amazon. But yeah, but it's like, it's better than doing it through your personal. Like, I don't know. When I was first commingling funds, it was like awful.
Well, I used to like with Turo and Amazon, I used to have them at different institutions and it was just like a mess. You have to remember all these passwords. And then we finally got it under one roof and that was like a lot better.
Yeah, the thing with personal banking too is I'll give a little quick anecdote here. I was spamming BOA with like orders and I was opening up like a new credit card every 3 weeks. Like, after like 2 months of that, they had enough and they just locked my whole account and they froze me on like everything. Because I think I was one day I was just spamming orders and they locked my card. I called them, they unlocked it. I spammed again. and then locked it again. I called back, they unlocked it, and the third time I went to call back, they was like, nah, like we can't unlock this card anymore. And I was like, well, what do you mean? I just call when it gets locked, and you guys unlock it. And they're like, no.
We've got this routine down.
She was like, we can't do that. And I was like, well, what are you talking about? She's like, anyway, you got to go in person and verify your identity. And I was like, bro, like that's a whole trip. So about a month prior, I had opened my BOA business account, right? And the one branch in this town that I went to said that I probably wouldn't be able to get a loan and probably wouldn't be able to get a credit card for a while since my business credit was so brand new, all this and that. And I was like, all right, whatever. Like he wasn't really budging. I was like, all right, that's kind of weird. This was like 3 weeks later. I go to another branch, and this lady, we get to talking. She's on the phone, verifying my identity with like the internal phone number. And, I'm showing her my Amazon account. I'm like, yeah, look, I'm doing like 50K this month, whatever. And she goes, oh, have you, had a, appointment with the business department? I said, no, I haven't. She's like, all right, I'll hook you up with a personal guy over there. So she hooked me up, like clicked something on her end. That night when I went home, I looked in my bank account and had an offer for a credit card for $10,000. And I ended up taking it. And then the personal guy, my guy Eduardo, who's like the same guy I work with now all the time, he like explained to me, oh yeah, like she like pushed something through and referred you. So I don't know. I wasn't able to do it before, and then all of a sudden she referred me, and I could open up a $10,000 credit card. So
well, that's like just like something about like lending. It's all about who you know within that space. So like she had a connection, she knew how a process worked. Maybe Eduardo was like newer, didn't know all the processes, whatever. Who knows. But the smaller community banks, if you're looking for a loan, if you can demonstrate like worthiness, it's gonna be a lot easier because it's like a personal relationship. You're close to home. They don't have to go through all of like the checks and balances that like a Wells or a Chase or a BOA would need to go through. Like you could probably talk to a lending officer and they'd be like, okay, yeah, sounds good. Or, hey, you need to come back in 5 months after you've demonstrated that you have good revenue.
Credit unions are typically a move. I used to flip cars in high school, and I used to only go through this one credit union because they would give me like the lowest interest and the highest amounts. So I purchased like 10 or 15 cars just through that one alone. I didn't even bother looking at other banks. They were just tossing me money as like a 16-year-old kid. It was insane, bro.
Yeah.
And then you can obviously like a smaller regional bank, you're gonna be able to kind of get closer with them as they're not dealing with a ton of clients, and it's kind of a smaller roster that they got going. So do you guys bank only through big people, or do you have a credit union? Or because I know, well, so Pete, did you get your house through a big?
We did a credit union for the house.
Okay.
And like we got really good rates and that sort of thing. And then we bank with Chase. So yeah, we kind of have a mix. I mean, I'm sure we have a couple accounts over at the credit union, but it kind of makes me think about like the one thing we haven't talked about in terms of lending is Amazon loans. Like, I don't know. Have you guys gotten any yet?
No.
Okay. I've gotten a couple offers and I've taken them. I just like, that's probably why I Chad scaled a little bit more.
Oh, I didn't know. How much did you take?
Just 8.
Oh.
Yeah. It wasn't a ton, but I was like, it helps smooth out some cash flow issues. And so I just said, this will not be a problem. I can spend this in like 5 hours. Yeah. It was like, if I need to.
Were the terms decent? What was the?
I think it was like 12% or something like that. I mean, over the year. And so, I mean, it wasn't great, but if you just turn over your money a few times, like I had no problem just pumping on it. So yeah, I was able to go a little deeper in some of the products that we were just selling. And so like, that kind of results in a little bit higher sales volume over the last month or two.
How long has your Amazon account been open? Because I know in the past you were doing eBay, you were doing and then like recently you really hunkered down and like.
Yeah. So it's been open probably since like 2018.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, no, it's super old. Like it's relative, like it's very old compared to yours. So like they probably trust me a lot more. And because like I really like I have it pretty dialed in terms when I FBM, like there's no going out late. It's like, I mean, you remember how I was right before the last podcast? I was like, oh crap, I almost forgot about my FBM orders. And I was like running to the post office, like trying to get there right before we started. But yeah, I do not miss on that. It's like Kobe Bryant.
0 day is scary, man. I mean, as long as I don't recommend doing this, but as you know, it's also crazy. I think you could do 0 day until like 11 p.m. or something like that.
Dude, like, that's what Dre does. I don't know if he does it. We'll have to ask him at some point.
Doesn't even make sense.
He said you could do it.
The post office is closed. Like that just goes to show you they literally don't care. They just want that label created. If you're in a pinch, you could always create the labels and then do it the next morning, but you really should, if you're doing 0 day, you really should be adhering to that and getting it out the same day. But
Dre's just he's just going into stealth mode to get the packages into the system.
In a quick
He's
pinch.
breaking into USPS.
Yeah, I've had some. What do you guys? So do you guys do pickups now? Well, I don't know. Are you transitioning out of FBM? I'm thinking about going. I've sent a bunch of stuff Prep Center this month after, I stopped buying a certain SKU that we were selling a lot of. I've been doing Prep Center pretty much. I really haven't been adding any FBA. I actually have some FBA. I think I'm just going to clear out and go down the prep route, and I'll do some FBM. But for me personally, I really want to get away from it and start buying a little bit of my time back and kind of reorganizing. I just feel like right now it's the move for the next couple of months. And luckily with our Prep Center, honestly, he gets it out faster than I think I could FBA it. Honestly, it's way faster.
I sit on that product for like a week. I do not move expeditiously with that.
Dude, Danny is the man. I'll send stuff and it'll be checked in literally 4 days later and available to sell in the same week. It's nuts.
Yeah,
so,
100%. Yeah, I mean, I think this next month, I was in the live stream with Miles, Garrett, Warner, and Corey, and they were talking about how important FBM is, and it super is. It's it's a great way to get really quick reps in, learn quickly, and then it's also you can just inject capital into your next wave if you do FBM,
right.
because you get your money back faster, and the margins are going to be better. But I just said that if I do FBM too much, it's going to lead to my inevitable divorce. So, I don't know how, Jamie does not enjoy it. So, I don't know. I'm probably going to take a break. And then I just told her that Q4 is going to be double what this was. So, I need my sanity back for a month and to reset.
I think you touched on a really big topic there, Peter. Just FBM when you are new, 100%. 150,000% FBM when you are new. And if you can combine the retail arbitrage aspect of Amazon with FBA, you're going to see crazy high margins, crazy fast growth. You're going to be able to turn your money over 2 to 3 times throughout the month.
Yeah.
You're going to be able to get your money back in under a week and a half if you're taking daily payouts. So if you're getting your money back in a week and a half, taking daily payouts, you can compound 3 to 4 times in a month. Whereas if I'm FBAing and I'm only doing OA, I'm compounding once.
But that's why you did 40K your first month. I mean, you could just drop the mic there and we could be done. Because it's so true and people fight it. That's something that I don't understand about new sellers. They're I need to get a VA from the get. I need to get a Prep Center from the get. No, you need to get your hands dirty for 4 months. And you need to, if you're going to run a business, you need to be able to understand how the business operates. And you need to know every nook and cranny of it. I feel like I'm going Russo right here, but it's true. You need to know every part of your business before you think about outsourcing. Not one of the people in our group is really heavily considering getting a VA right now. I mean, maybe for some admin stuff, but I think that people try and get way too ahead of themselves. You don't need to think about VAs. You don't need to think about Prep Centers. You need to learn how the system works before you start removing yourself from the system. This
isn't a get rich quick scheme. This is a lot of hard work. It's a lot of 5-hour nights of sleep. I remember, dude, I was in my basement for 4 days in a row without seeing sun.
And you look like shit. But it's not passive, but it's residual. So over time it just grows, and so then there's an exponential return. But anybody that says that Amazon is passive is either uneducated or they're lying.
You can get it to the point where you're working 20 hours a week if you want.
Even less.
But it takes a lot of time to get there. You have to put in a lot of work and train a lot of people.
Yeah. The first year you have to put in that work. Yeah.
Yeah, you have to outsource your labor if you want it to be, passive. That's what we're doing with the Prep Center, right? We're outsourcing that labor to the Prep Center because if we had to do our FBA prep ourselves or, do FBM, that's a lot of work. That's a lot of time. That's what we've been doing for the past 3 months. Whereas now we have Quick Prep and Danny we send the stuff to them, they prep our FBA. That's one thing that we don't have to worry about anymore. So, 5-hour nights of sleep turn into 7. And then eventually, if you don't want to do FBM anymore and you just want to go into FBA and just compound your money like that, okay, well, you don't have to do FBM anymore. You can send everything to Prep Center.
Yeah. Well, and it kind of gets into like, I see like a lot of folks that are just starting. They're like, should I get a VA first or should I get prep first?
Prep.
It's prep. I don't
Prep.
think I think it's got to be prep. But like, it's
not
not even
even
a question, but people ask.
I got shamed into getting a prep center, and I'm so lucky I did it at that point because it was right before the point where I probably really needed one. And then that like 2-week stretch after I got a prep center, things started heating up crazy. And I was so glad that I got one, because then I was really starting to do volume where it just would have been like not fun doing it myself. And I still do some stuff myself. And most of the part is to the prep, and 99% is now going to the prep. So I've kind of even cut back even further. So
yeah, but it again, it goes into like group. Dude, Max, you're vibing over there.
Yeah, bro, I'm thinking about. I just love the FBM. Like, dude, I FBM a lot. Like, I can't stop it, bro. I just want to compound so fast.
It does, but like, it kind of gets into the point. We're probably going to hammer this every single time. Importance of group, because Max, you had a limiting belief about prep centers. You were worried about your margin, and I just grilled you for like 2 weeks, and then you eventually were like, "Okay, I'm going to delegate. I'll develop that trust," and it worked out. So, was that a TikTok dance? Oh no! All right, you cut from the pod. His contract is terminated.
I was spazzing a little bit. Had to get some. Try to lock some of the seed oils out of my my joints there. You know what I mean? Unlock some of that.
Bro, if you keep dancing like that, we're gonna drop that one video of you.
Nah, don't be doing that, dude.
We're gonna have to do it for the listeners at some point.
Nah, like maybe like I need to be like doing at least 200K a month before I can drop that video. Like, if I'm doing that,
if you hit 200K in December, we will drop that video as a celebration.
Oh yeah,
250.
No, 200.
200.
What's your vote?
200.
200. It's 200.
Yeah, dude, that's more than double what you did this.
We have the video. It doesn't matter what you say. We're just gonna drop it at 200.
I already know I'm gonna do 200 plus in December.
Yeah, 100%.
It's not even like two. I'm probably gonna do between 2 and 3. Like I already know. I'm done with the calculations, the calculatories, calculations.
Just gonna buy so
dude. One thing I've been thinking about this entire time is and I don't know if you want to add it in because we're kind of screwing around now, but the one thing I've been thinking about this entire time is everybody does Amazon differently. Like Max, you have a bunch of credit cards and you like cycle them or utilize all of them, and then you kind of pay them all off in some sort of system that you have. Pete, from the jump, you were always doing FBA more than you were FBMing, and then you got the Amazon loan, which let you scale up faster and everything. So that's like the difference between you two, and then me. I'm in the FBM trenches. Like my goal is to end up with a warehouse, right? So we all have different goals. We all have different ways of doing things when it comes to even credit cards, or it comes to how we fulfill our products. So just because me, Peter, and Max do run our stores a certain way doesn't mean you have to do it that way, right? You can do what works for you, right? If you're working already 80 hours a week, I doubt you're going to want FBM products. You literally won't sleep.
Yeah.
It's impossible.
Like there is no single roadmap. There is a framework, and there are different levers that you can pull to make yourself successful. Like there are different programs that teach you the basics, and then you have to apply them to your own situation. The people that slide in the DMs and are like, how do I do this? Or what, asking for permission to do this, bro, I'm not going to hold your hand for you. I might give you advice on occasion, but it's like, you need to analyze your own situation and make a decision.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. I think
every aspect. Sorry, Max. Keep going.
No, I was just saying, I think what Pete said was great. There's a general framework that's probably the ideal route. And then within that, you're going to find like something that you're good at, and you're going to find things that you like better. Maybe you really like FBM and you just stick with FBM. Like, nothing wrong with that. Eventually it's going to get to a point where they need to get a warehouse or start, outsourcing labor somehow. But, there's different ways to go about it. There's no really right answer. The only thing I can say is you should not drink seed oils And to start with, you should definitely FPM everything. Other than that, you can do whatever you want. But if you are working 8 hours a week, maybe you don't want FBA. But I don't want to hear about the time thing. I got to walk my gerbil twice a day. He has. I haven't checked that tweet. I'm hoping that got some good engagement, bro. Don't leave me stranded out there. But yeah, I mean, I have to walk my gerbil twice a day. He doesn't want to use a hamster wheel. He does have diabetes. His joints, like every single morning, I go up to him right as he wakes up, and I crack his little chicken wings, allows him to kind of spread and start walking around.
Give him a little kiss on the head.
I really don't. So.
All right. Well, maybe we'll have your gerbil on next episode. But with that, I think we're going to wrap up. Thank you for listening into the second episode of the Prep Talk podcast. We will see you next week.